these are the kind of things I don't want my child to be a star in mathematics. I don't want the child to be a star in literacy. No, it has to be all inclusive.
Oh. Now let's begin this conversation taking our quote from Fred Allen, who is an American comedian. He once said, "I learned law so well. The day I graduated, I sued the college, won the case, and got my tuition back." Wow, really? So just like in my own times, I'm looking at, are you trying to burn the bridge that you passed through? Or biting the finger? Anyway, let's leave it at that. Let's go to our next quote, and this one is from B.S. Skinner, who is an American psychologist, behaviorist, author, inventor, and social philosopher. Once said, "Education is what survives when what has been learned has been forgotten." Absolutely spot on. Our last one is from Tom Graves, an American businessman and politician. Once said, "Let's make it simple. Government controls means uniformity, regulation, fees, inspection, and yes, compliance." I agree with that one. And because I love that one, let me take my last one. One last quote. And this one is from Alexander Kostyniuk, who is a Russian and Swiss chess grandmaster. Once said, "Studying is something I really love doing, and I just hope to have enough money for tuition." Enough money. Is there ever enough money? Now let's see how this quote relates to what we'll be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to D Conversation. We're reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Parents under the aegis of the National Parent Teachers Association of Nigeria, NAPTAN, have called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to apply brake to the spate of increment in tuition and others by government-owned schools. The parents said that life was being snuffed out of them as a result of such increases in almost all sectors such as fuel, electricity, and now school fees. And according to them, they said that the increase are becoming too many and pouring on the citizens like heavy rainfall. That's what they stated. Speaking in the chat with the media, the Deputy National President of NAPTAN, Adeolu Ogubanjo, urged the president to, as a matter of urgency, put a stop to the tuition fee hike in public schools. He stated, and quote, "It is unfortunate we support the president regarding the removal of oil or fuel subsidy, but it does not mean everything just must be hiked at the same time." And in my mind, I'm wondering, is it the president that hiked the school fees also? But let's go on with this report. Now, he went on to say that you still want to remove subsidy on electricity and also hike tuition fees at the same time. That will be too killing on parents and their children. The parents should, by tomorrow, mandate schools to revert to their old school fees. They should not snuff life out of parents and their children. This further stated that he should temper justice with mercy. I'm sure he's referring to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that he should temper justice with mercy. The moment the government increases fees payable in its schools, others will definitely follow. That's the state government and the private schools and so he stated that this must stop immediately. He further stated that the huge impact of the subsidy removal is already affecting businesses and many have decided to close down. If this happens, it still means that parents that will be at the worst stage and they will lose their jobs and still have so many family commitments to handle. Now, you recall that the federal government in Unity's colleges recently increased their school fees from 45,000 to 100,000, and federal universities have also done the same thing. The University of Lagos, UNILAG, for instance, increased their school fees from 19,000, or maybe their tuition fees. Is this school fees or tuition fees? Anyways, they had an increase from 19,000 to 190,250 naira. And you also have some other schools that told the same part. Now, parents are apprehensive that by the time new session begins for primary, secondary schools in September, and even university, a number of parents might find it very difficult to cope with fees and buying books. Anyways, all of this are what we'll be discussing on the show today, and we've got a full house. We've got teachers, we've got parents to react to this matter. And my first guest on the show today for my first segment is Oluwatosin Oladipo, who is the head of school at Safe Hands Schools, and we also have Amanda Omachi, who is the director, Reconcilers Children Academy here in Abuja. Then in the second half of the show, we will go straight to talking to Peggy Ulu, who is a fashion designer. She is a chef and a tutor. And we also have Theophilus Onajeta, who is co-founder and chief operating officer of Busy Rooms. Like I always say, it's going to be a very, very jam-packed program. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, guardians, students, you need to watch this part of the show. But join us again after this time out. Welcome back. In case you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now let's go straight to our conversation for today. And our first guest is, we've got, it's a full house, like I always say. My first guest is Oluwatosin Oladipo, who is the head of schools at Safe Hands School. It is great to have you on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And my next guest is Amanda Omachi, who is the director, Reconcilers Children Academy here in the city of Abuja. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Great. All right, now let's go straight to our conversation for today. We'll start with you, Mrs. O, like they always call you. Did you increase, or did Safe Hands Schools increase their school fees for those who will be returning or resuming in September? Yes or no?
The elephant in the room. Yes, we did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Okay, bit of a dicey one. Inflation, right? The cost of running business in Nigeria. You must be living under a rock for you not to have experienced the hike in the prices of things in the market. And I always say to myself, if you're a business, you have three positions you can have. It is either you sink, you float, or you swim. And when I say sink now, it means, look, you're running a business at a loss. If you're a business, except you're a charitable business, you are there for profit. If you float, it means you are just breaking even. It's your total cost equals your total revenue. And of course, to swim means you want to make a profit. It was a difficult one for us, but it was something we had to do to be able to maintain the standard that we currently have. And the truth about it is that as a school, and most schools, except they don't want to be honest, we are literally just recovering from the impact of COVID. And when you know with COVID, the impact on income was pretty steep, with most schools not getting any income and all of that. So schools are just recovering from that, and then we're hit again with the rising cost of things in the market, the cost of doing business, you know. So it was just inevitable. It was just something we had to do.
Okay, so if COVID, yes, we're still in the post-COVID era.
Absolutely.
So COVID is like 2022, 2021, 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
We're in 2023.
So
why now?
This is what I'm saying. I'll give you my own school as an example. Post-COVID, we went back to the drawing board. I mean, you can't run a business if you're not crunching your numbers. How are you able to maintain that standard? The burden of this cost, who's going to bear it? So one thing that we are big on as a school is stakeholder engagement. There's absolutely no decision that we take that the board, the management, and the parents community, those that will be paying for this service, are not carried along. So beginning of last session, we had a meeting to say, look, if we're going to maintain this standard, and I must backtrack a bit. During COVID, the burden of the fees that we didn't get was carried by the church. I'm a church school. So the board took on that thing because a school has to be funded anyways. Whether the burden is being borne by the parents or by the management of the institution, somebody has to fund the school on its own. So 2 years after that, we went back to the drawing board, calculated the numbers, called parents to say, look, for us to actually be able to float, we're not even talking of swimming. We need a 20 to 25% increment, and we're conscious of the effect on parents. So then I remember clearly that the church gave parents a particular percentage, and they took a higher percentage to say, look, we empathize with everybody. This is a business concern. We need to run it efficiently and ensure that this business is sustainable. So we did that. And then, nobody has foresight into what was coming for this academic session. And then, bam, we're hit again with the removal of fuel subsidy.
Is gone.
It's easy to look at fuel subsidy and not think it has a ripple effect on everything in the market.
Because that's what I was going to. Because some parents will say diesel, fuel.
So this is where I'm going. There's something in business called VUCA, which is an environment that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We're in the volatile season. Everything is up and down, very uncertain. You see, all of us started buying fuel at about 500 and something, and we woke up the next morning, it was 600. That is the uncertainty that is in the market right now. So for any school right now, you just have to have an adaptive mindset to say, look, regardless of what happens, how do I ensure that I've put a wedge between what is happening there and my system? How am I able to run this business efficiently, still get my money, and ensure that I deliver value to my parents? So that was what we did. So going into the end of this academic session, went back to the board again. So this is it. I'm a school leader, I'm not a school owner. So I report to a board of directors. Going back to my board to say, look, I'm crunching the numbers here. I have profit and loss accountability. I'm supposed to tender returns for this company. I'm unable to do this. You've been sustaining, you've been buffering us with this surplus that we can't get from parents. How are we going to do this? Crunching my numbers, I'm not even talking of profit. To be able to move and run this business sustainably for next session, I'm looking at another 35% increment. Note that we did something last year. So they said, look, Mrs. O, what do we do? I said, I can advise, but at the end of the day, the decision is yours. What we can't, I wear two hats. I'm a school head, but I'm also a parent. I have my children in other schools. So we need to understand what this impact is on them. So the board we had a 2-staged kind of meeting with the parents. We have something called class parents, representative of parents in different classes. So the board said, look, let's speak with them first. Let's hear from them. We're not even going to say, we know the position, we have the range of the increment that we're looking at, but can we have a conversation with these parents? Let's even see, let's hear from them. So, and we had that. Of course, everybody going into that kind of meeting, you don't know what to expect, but because we run a transparent system, it's good for us to go in there and to explain what our financial position is. So we spoke to them, gave them the different ranges, and they said to us, we think it's important that you also speak with the general parents body. We're like, we want to do that, but we also had to speak with you first. And of course, we also spoke with the parents. But one thing that the board emphasized is that, look, we empathize. We need to run this business. We need a 35% to run it.
So it's a 35% increase that you have?
I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. So we need a 35% increment to stay afloat. That is just to break even. However, we will, for parents, give between a 10 to 15. It will not exceed 15. It will not be lower than 10. And the church will take on the difference. What we've put in place is a staggered form of increment. We really do, like I said, VUCA is very uncertain. We don't know what to expect in the years to come. But we have a human face, and we are conscious of the effect of these things on parents. So that's what.
So there's a possibility that next year there could be other increases.
I mean, for you to run a business, you must account for inflation.
Okay.
So it is there, but what we are doing is to ensure that this burden is shared.
All right. Okay, so I'll bring this question back to you, Amanda Omachi, Director, Reconcilers and Children's Academy here in Abuja. Same question. Did you increase your own school fees?
Yes.
To how many percent?
It's about 20%.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So are you getting the kind of subsidy or buffer that Safe Hands get?
No, unfortunately, no, we don't. Ours is a sole proprietorship system, and for us at first, actually, we never intended to increase it. That was the first time the subsidy removal was done. We had a meeting with our parents, and we said we realized our parents are going through such a lot, and we wanted to cushion the effects, and we're kind of providing like a safe landing for parents, trying to ease things. And we said, no, what we wanted to do at first was to come together to find a solution. So what do we do? And we agreed to find a way to increase our enrollment rates, you know, such that
please explain to us, what's the enrollment rate again?
That's to increase the number of children in the school.
Okay.
Yes, such that the burden will be shared among, you know. So that was the agreement, and then we went on with that. And then shortly after that, I think about 3 weeks later or so, well, we had the the second one, you know. So immediately after the second one, we were starry-eyed, honestly, and quite taken aback. What do we do? Interestingly, our parents actually drew my attention to it and said, see, Mrs. Amanda, we know what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work. So for me, it was quite comforting that it's parents that actually saw the need to increase. And I had parents coming in to say, we know that the strategy was to get more children into the school to increase the enrollment rates, but it's not going to work because prices were just going crazy. You know, a ream of paper that we bought about, I think, 7,000, 11,000. The next time we went to get it was 22,500. You know, so we knew that it wasn't going to work. So of course we had to go back, start crunching the numbers again. Even as at yesterday, we got another letter from another supplier, a vendor, book vendor for us, you know, and there was increment. So we knew that unless we want to lower our standard and begin to cut corners, we knew that something had to be done.
So at this point, are you floating or swimming?
I think we are floating for now. We are floating for now.
So the parents understand this.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so what's the sustainable plan if you don't want to lower the standard, you still want to keep the quality of the education? What's the sustainable plan? Because tomorrow anything can happen. Fuel is still at 600. We're looking, it could go to $700. Is still at 800. It could go to 1,000. What's the sustainable plan?
You know, there are still other things that we can do in-house to lower the cost. You know, something like going online, going digital, instead of having your what's it called now, the papers, or using papers everywhere, you know, for your exams, your tests and all that. You could go back to CBT.
Oh, okay.
You know? Yes, that's computer-based tests. So things that you do within, we are not necessarily cutting corners, you know, but trying to reduce your operational cost, but still achieving the same result. So those are some of the things that we need to do. Yeah.
Now I hear, I'm going to come to you, Ms. O, because I hear some parents say that are these teachers even considering the fact that minimum wage has not been increased? So what is their own? Did they want to, please let them, in fact, one parent even came to ask me, please tell the next teacher you find, let parents breathe. Mrs. O, I'm bringing it to you. How would you let parents breathe, despite the fact that minimum wage is not increasing, salaries are not increasing?
So for me, and I'm glad that Ms. Amanda spoke about it, we're looking for ways to run a sustainable business, minimize costs, and still not affect the outcome or the standard that we're giving. We did put in some form of palliatives.
Even though I hate to use that word palliative,
quote unquote. And first and foremost, like I said, we're staggering the elephant in the room, the potential increment. So yes, I'm looking at a 35% for now. I don't know what it will be. I don't even know what it will be in December. But you know, I'm open enough, I'm honest enough to let you know that expect something, but always know that there will be some form of buffer with that. I mean, it helps you to plan as well. Another thing we've done is quite a lot of incentives for parents. So referral discounts. So if you bring in someone, I mean, at the end of the day, if the numbers are good, we can find a way to adjust around.
So does it mean that if I bring two pupils,
for every family you bring, I mean, terms and conditions apply. But for everyone you bring in, there's a significant impact on your child's tuition. We also have something called a loss leader. So there are some services apart from tuition. We have additional services that we run as a school, but we don't run it for profit. I.e., I'll tell you, we have a top of the the range special education needs and disability unit. We are conscious of ensuring that students or pupils with disability are not denied access to quality education. I do not run that unit as a profit. It's very, very expensive.
Like you just
apart from the
next
tuition
question from my mind. I was going to ask you about the children with special needs. What are your plans for them?
So that's where I'm going to. I have some students because I run a school bus. Let me tell you about the school bus now. When the price of fuel increased, we went back to the drawing board. By the time we calculated the first thing, in fact, when we gave the bill to parents, some parents will be paying more than tuition. So the board just said, you know what? We've been buffering this thing. We've been stepping in. We've been cushioning the effect. Let us take on 50% of it. And that's what they've done. I have a student in the special needs unit. For you to be in the special needs unit in my school, it depends. You may need a full-time tutor or a partial tutor. It comes at a cost. You're not charged. You're technically charged nothing for that apart from your tuition. So what we've done is to run that unit. I have a child on my school bus, which is another loss leader for me, that I pick up from Gwarimpa. My school is around Games Village. How does that make any sense? But for me, what we've done is, look, I need to be able to cover my costs. I need to deliver value. I need to ensure that I float, even though my desire is to swim. Nobody wants to run a business without making any form of profit. But when you come, you will get value. So things like that. We also have clubs. So we have some clubs that are free. It's at a cost to us, but I mean, you can get it for free. So we have things like that. Some of
what
our
are the benefits
sorry,
going into any of this your clubs?
Sorry,
what are the benefits that you have?
We have quite a lot because the needs of children and their likes, they're quite different. So let me take, for example, we have one called Aero Bodies, and it's a mix of the STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, art and math, and the aerospace. So we have a modem where the students can simulate flying an aircraft. Those are things that are there. It comes at a cost, but it's not the cost that you will get out there. It's highly subsidized, of course, like I said, terms and conditions. So on a first come first serve basis, the free clubs are there. So look, because you can't take away co-curricular activities from schools, how do I ensure? Because the first thing for any parent is, look, after paying tuition, this is a good to have, is not a must have. But I would try to say to you that, look, let the children have an avenue to apply skills that they've learned in a core academic setting. So those are things. I mean, you have the Aero Bodies, we have students that like to cook, we have a cooking club and things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to asking you about the quality, because I hear a lot of parents saying that if I have to pay XYZ amount, how am I sure that I'm getting value for that money? I'll come back to that, but let me bring the question back to you, Amanda. In your school, what are the, let me not use that palliative, I hate that word palliative. What are the cushioning effects you have for especially children with special needs?
For children with special needs, of course, it's special, so you can't bring in the general for them. So one of the things that we do especially for them is to get a teacher that is really assigned to attend to their individual needs, So and it's like Mrs. O said, it's been quite expensive, because we really don't add an additional cost to them, but we want to encourage them. And I'm going to be honest here, when we first had the first special needs child, my first instinct was say, no. I honestly can't handle this, please. But there was a need. I had to meet with a mom who shared with me that, look, I have spoken to a specialist. I have spoken to him, and he said that the best thing to do for the child is to bring him into an inclusive school. Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of pulling him apart. So gradually the child begins to act like the normal people he sees around, So what we had to do, but we knew that, you're going to be inclusive and all that, but we can't still deny the fact that you have a special need. So we had to get someone special to attend to them. Yes, while being inclusive. So we had to do that at no extra cost to the parents. Yes. So, but it's something that gives us a lot of joy, because now we know that the mom comes around and says there's been great improvement. You see the child mingling when we have presentations and all that. The child is being involved, carried along. When they brought him newly, I remember there was a lot of shyness, possibly because of the way he was perceived from his other school. So there was a lot of, he pulled back, but now you see him coming out, he's playing, he's mingling, and it's a lot of joy for us.
So now tell us how you had to walk us through that process, because I recall having a conversation with a mom who has a child with special needs. She had cerebral palsy and autism at the same time, and still battling with malaria, with jaundice, quite a number of things. But then she says anytime that she takes her baby, and she's 12, but she can't walk, but anytime she takes her baby out, other moms will just see her and like, oh please, why are you bringing it? Like, they always want to shame her. So how do you manage, how do you deal?
Well, for us, it's really not to, one of the things that we did was to ensure that he wasn't discriminated in any way, except, so that meant for us that we included him in everything we were doing. You see, the thing is, when you pull him aside and you begin to say, okay, so you can do this, but you can't do this, then you are encouraging discrimination.
Okay.
So, but we've actually never had an incident where the child is sidelined or mocked at, by his peers, because
even the parents also.
Even the parents also.
Okay.
Because we kind of, look above it, like there's nothing abnormal here.
Okay.
Yes. So
Great.
there's an
Awesome.
acceptance. So, and everybody just went with the flow.
Awesome. All right, now let's come back to you, Miss O. How do you ensure value? If I have to pay, if I was paying, I heard the particular school pays for university, they pay okay, first I'm going to ask you two questions and I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath. Now the first question is, I heard the presidency come out to say that tuition has never been paid for, and there's someone came out to explain that tuition, that's you don't pay for the learning. That's so. Are you guys
supposedly paying for resources?
Yes, resources. So are you charging parents for tuition or resources? That's one on the side. And then secondly, if I was paying, let's say 400,000 for one of my child, and now 10% increase, I'm now paying 440,000. What is what's the guarantee that there's value for that increase that you just added?
Okay, so you're putting me on the spot here right now for the first one. To be honest, most schools, what they charge you for is very all-inclusive. We're a private school. Public schools is easy because they're highly subsidized by government. We are not subsidized by government. If all the parents asking, and I'll be going back and forth with these questions. Okay. Parents are asking for value. What they really mean by that value is how globally relevant is my child. And that is something you need to pay for. I mean, you go to the market, you want to buy an outfit for yourself. There are different brands. There are things called luxury goods. You will, I mean, somebody with a Lamborghini, somebody with a Corolla, you know what you are paying for. And they're both vehicles that move on the road. So what exactly are you paying for? It's for that extra, right? So most schools, I would say, when you say value, for me, value equals what I get from a school. So it is not just teaching children 2 + 2 = 4. Can I apply that skill? Okay. So as a school, for example, I'll give you an example, and you're aware of this actually because I came here with my year 6s. So I'm teaching you're terminating at year 6, you're going into year 7. What is one thing you've learned from Safe Hands? Empathy was one thing I was very, very particular about, because empathy is a soft skill that most companies are looking out for. We are looking at, and everybody is complaining what the president is doing. What people really, is not that people didn't see this fuel subsidy removal coming. What they wanted was somebody who would empathize and put things in place for you so that you can cushion the effect. So for us, the students at our school, for example, and this is the value that I'm talking about, I said to them, corporate social responsibility is something that is critical to us as a school. But then I won't come up to you to say, I want you to support this school. I want you to look through and tell me why you want to do that. And so they picked this school, and I also told them you can't have an entitlement mentality. That's not something you teach in a book. I don't want you to think because you need 1.2 million naira to raise the standard at a public school and then think that you can go to mom and dad and say, well, there's 12 of us in a class, 1.2 million. Mom, give me 100,000. Absolutely not. I want to know that there's something valuable you're doing. So our students came up with bake sales. They wrote a devotional, staged play, so that when I walk up to you and say, I'm trying to raise 1.2 million naira. However, would you come for my bake sale? Would you buy a ticket for 1,000 naira? This money, proceeds from this will go to XYZ. That is the kind of value that I'm talking
And
about.
it lives on with them.
It lives on with them. People are looking at how schools are integrating technology into what they're doing. Part of the projects that my year sixes did as well was working with AI, working with avatars. So like I said, they wrote a devotional, and the characters from those devotionals, they came up with avatars and they did that. So you see, when parents come, it's a given that academic excellence should be there. But what is the extra thing? Can my child stand with a fellow student in China and have a conversation without feeling that he's at the back end of some part of Nigeria in Abuja? So that's value for me. And then going to that your question of tuition. I mean, and I say this loosely, people ascribe value to something that is paid for. That's the truth. If you get something for free, there's a tendency for you not to take it. But if I part with money, you see yourself going to a place, and that's why you have influencers, you have people who rate restaurants, for example. Why would you go and say Michelin star? Why would I give you a 5-star for a restaurant? It's because I'm eating good food that is good. I would pass by McDonald's and not eat a $1 meal and come here and part with $100 because I want to eat good food. And you expect that if you look at my menu, you find that. Same thing with schools. I believe schools should be very honest, should be very upfront to say, yes, we will teach your children core academics, but what are the extra things? Co-curricular activities, corporate social responsibility. As students, like Ms. Amanda said, when we have a special needs unit, we are an inclusive school, zero tolerance for bullying. You know, we place high importance on ensuring that our team, our staff, they are well trained. Those are the things that you pay for. Termed loosely as tuition, but those are the things that you need to put in a bowl and mix together and grant a child quality education.
Okay, so now I need you to respond or to react to the allegations made by some parents that we are just only paying too much for British accent, American accent, all this phonetic, that's what we are paying for. So please react to that.
I'm not a fan of that. I don't even do diction in my school because I believe that the adult in the environment should be able to speak well. If you speak well, it impacts positively on the children. And if you don't, your children, when a child comes home and instead of see it, it's in you will know that it's not working well. But you see, value is very subjective. What value do you ascribe? If you say a school is overcharging, you want, and that's why it's very critical for schools, management of schools, to have meetings with onboarding meetings with parents before they come in and set expectations. Because then I say to you, this is who we are as a school. This is what you would expect. This is I'm laying my cards on the table and explaining to you that this is who we are. You already know before coming in that this is what you would get. If it is not something that you want, it is fine. I will not lower my standard because you perceive it as expensive. It's funny to me, and no shade intended. Parents will not, people, let me never say, will not bat an eyelid to spend thousands of dollars on an outfit you're going to wear to one. And then you say to yourself that you want to give your child a global edge, a competitive edge in this world, and you are not willing to part with money. Ignorance is expensive.
All right. So even as our time is fast spent, but I'll bring this last question to you, Miss Amanda. I heard Senator Shehu Sani say that schools in Abuja should learn this lesson. The fact that you have schools that are like in the suburbs, in the hinterlands, but yet they are bringing up good results. But Abuja schools would always want to be so expensive, but they don't bring as much result as you have in other schools. He was actually referring to the JAM result that came out and then the person that scored the highest. So that's what he was reacting to. So I'd like you to react to that. Is it true that Abuja schools, you guys just only charge too much money and then you don't give quality? That's one on the side. And then the second is, in Nigeria, we always believe that the law of gravity never applies to Nigeria. What goes up never comes down. So is there any coming down for this in case if fuel subsidy, if fuel goes back to 100, is there any hope?
All right, let me respond to the first one. Talking about comparing Abuja schools and those in the suburbs, I think it's not what you're paying for. It's not just the academics, Yeah, it's what value are you getting?
It's not like they're paying for location too.
So what exactly are you paying for? Are you just paying for math and English, or are you paying for the items Mrs. O just mentioned right now? Are you teaching children to have empathy? Are you teaching children to be able to be global citizens and all of that? So those are the extra things that we pay for. I mean, in Abuja schools. For me, I don't disagree. I believe very strongly that you will have good hands right in the suburbs, but then there are also key elements that might be lacking. You know, for example, now how do you bring up children that, let's say you take children out, there is a way that they behave. For example, when you go to a restaurant, you know, so those are some of the things that we also teach children, apart from just the math, the English, the science. I do believe that, yes, those in the suburbs will achieve so much, but there are also other things. It's not just the math and English.
So the Abuja people, they do better. Is that what you're saying?
It's not even just the Abuja people. It's just general, you know, in different places. Yes, there are things. And then, you know, for example, in Abuja specifically, when you're looking at it, you consider the fact that rent is also something else.
Okay.
Yes, the rent you pay is quite different from.
It's not the rent.
I mean, yeah, and then the cost of transportation. The cost of transportation also is different. You know, while some in the suburbs can just is a trekkable distance, or they pay 100 naira bike and they go to their offices. The teachers here, it's different for them.
All right.
You know, so you can't say that it's the same. It's not.
Okay, so what goes up never comes down. Is this going to go down anytime soon?
I don't know how to respond to
It does, to be honest.
It comes down.
It does.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time talking to you. We have to go to our next segment. Thank you so much, Oluwatosin Oladipo, Head of School, Safe Hand Schools. It's always a pleasure having these discussions with you. And thank you so much for having this discussion with us. Ms. Amanda Omachi, Director, Reconcilers Children Academy, Abuja. It's been a wonderful time having this talk.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, viewers, that's the first leg of this conversation. We're going to be talking to parents to see exactly if they agree with what Mrs. O and Miss Amanda had said. We'll go on this quick break, and when we return, the conversation continues. See you after this time out. Join us again.
The underlying bedrock is that they are not doing these things outside of the fear of God. So the decay we have in our society today is not that some of these kids involved in all of these menace are not very intelligent people. They are. The Yahoo boys are intelligent people, but they lost something very key. Nobody has fear, nobody has honor, nobody has respect.
Value.
That value is completely missing. So, like she said, the value must come first and foremost from you as a parent. What are you looking for?
Okay.
Beyond the increment in school fees and all of that, what are you looking for? Because some of these big schools, yes, they have all of these programs, all of these good,
the glitz and the glamour.
Glitz and the glamour. But then you look back at your children after some years and you wish you never made such mistakes.
Oh wow.
You know, so I don't want to get into that. Not at all.
That's definitely. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. As our next guest on the show today is, first we have Theophilus Onajeta, who is co-founder and chief operating officer, Busy Rooms. It's great to have you on the show today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And my next guest is Peggy Ulu, who is a tutor and she is a chef. Great to have you on the show.
Very well, thank you.
Great. Now let's start with you, ladies. Say ladies first. No offense to the men. Did you get any increase in school fees? And if you did, if yes, how did the news come to you? How did you react when you got the first news?
Okay, so did I get an increase? News on increase? Answer is yes.
Okay.
Well, how did it get to me? It wasn't a shocker at all.
Oh, you were expecting it?
It wasn't a shocker. Why? For me, we buy from the same markets. We fill from the same petrol stations and all of that. So we already know what's going on presently in Nigeria. So if you're a parent and you weren't expecting an increment in your child's tuition, then possibly you may be in denial. You know, so it didn't come as a shocker.
So when we talked to Mrs. Amanda of Reconcilers Academy, I hear her say that some parents came to her telling her that, okay, we know that school fees will increase. So you're among those kind of parents that went to the school telling them, we are ready.
Yes.
Give it to us.
Yes.
Oh, great. Awesome. Okay, let's come to you, Mr. Theophilus. How did the news come to you?
Okay, so just like Peggy said, it didn't come to me as a shock because it's expected. The current realities in Nigeria today shows to everybody that things are on the increase. If it is not the fuel, it's even the rent, as the case may be, the cost of foodstuffs and several other things have increased. So it's expected on all ends. Obviously, it's actually expected. I didn't get that as a shock as a person. I actually expected it, really.
Because you talked about rent, let me come back to rent. Why, I hear people asking, and I don't even know why they keep asking that question, that why would a landlord that has built his house over 30 years ago and then fuel subsidy gets removed and fuel is now sold for 700 naira or 600 naira, the case may be in some places, and you decide to increase your rent from 1 million naira in Abuja to 1.5 million naira? So why? Could you have any explanation to this?
Okay, so there's a lot involved. So, for example, it could be that is the person's business. Real estate is a business.
Okay.
Not just in Nigeria, but everywhere in the world. And there's the cost of maintenance of your facility. You go to the same market to buy whatever you're going to use to maintain your facility. You're going to go to the same market to buy things for your own survival as a person. So when you look at all of these mixed together, you have to probably increase your rent.
Okay, so what does maintenance entail? Like you have to repaint?
Yeah, sometimes you have to repaint. Sometimes
even though you're not repainting.
It might be a faulty WC that needs replacement, or probably a tenant leaves and another is supposed to come in. You're supposed to renovate the place. It's going to go at a cost. And if it's going at a cost, definitely you want to factor that in. And you know, everybody in real estate are in for profit, nonetheless. So there must be a marginal increase, no matter how little. And the truth is, the fuel increment, like yesterday on my way back from church, my daughter was asking, Daddy, why are we using the smaller car as against the bigger one? And I had to give her a simple maths. The smaller car consumes little fuel compared to the bigger one, and I had to start explaining the engine sizes and all of that, and she was like, oh, Daddy, now I understand.
The Gen Zs, you have to explain everything.
Yes, I had to do that. So because of the rising costs in all of these things, you have to factor it. Everybody's adjusting their lifestyle. I don't move out the way I will regularly move out. My movements,
you have to calculate your movements.
Yes, they are now.
Worth it?
So those are the things that everybody's actually considering, and then just make sure that you adjust your lifestyle around all of that.
So how much were you paying for your child or your ward before now, and how much are you paying? How many percent was increased?
Percent increase. Sincerely, I have not looked at the school fees yet.
Okay, it looks like you are they say you are either up there or you are down here. There's no middle class. Looks like you are the ones that are up there, since you are not even interested in how much percentage was increased.
Okay, so for example, my wife is a teacher.
Okay.
And then she works in the school.
Okay.
Where my kids actually attend. So when I'm ready to pay the fees, I just ask, so what are the fees? And then do my normal plus or minus, and then get the fees sorted. So I'm actually not taking time because there are so many other things I'm focused on at the moment. School fees, we still have August. And school is resuming in September. So I don't want to belabor myself over that.
Let's come to Peggy. It looks like you're the one that I want to know how much is the school fees. Let me start calculating and cutting the cost. What does it look like for you? What's the percentage increase?
We have a 12.5% increment.
Oh, okay.
That's because the church has actually borne, a larger part of that burden.
Okay.
So at present is 12.5%. But like I said, I don't wait. So once this fee is paid, I'm looking at planning for
another increase,
second term, third term, and then I make myself available for uncertainties.
Okay.
The reason is this. I'm looking for a place where this child can have value. And again, I was listening to your first segment. What is value? Who gives this value? You must understand value for you to begin to ask for value from the next point. So this is point A. I should be able to impute value before moving this child to point B, which is now the school. I don't believe in the school building value for me. Let the school build up on what
Where you
I have
started.
been able to put in.
Okay.
You understand? So increment will not make me pull away from a position of value. So at this point, you're going to be having parents check for school A, school B, with the increment in mind. I'm looking for a place where I can pay less. You're looking for a place where you can pay less. What values are you hoping to get?
So that means if you're shopping for schools, think of value first.
Think of value. So don't let fee hike chase you. Put your scale of preference down. For me, the child comes first in my scale of preference. I can begin to, downsize the other part of my expenditures
Okay.
while accommodating this other one, which has to do with the child. Because I'm a parenting coach. When these things happen in Nigeria, I tell people that these are manifestations of ill parenting. I used to call it wrong parenting, but I sat back, checked wrong, checked ill, and I said no. If I say wrong, then there will be a hold on our parents who brought us up, that they didn't give us the best, even though they knew the best. So it's not wrong parenting. It's ill parenting. Ill parenting is you give what you know. They gave us what we knew. There's no empathy in the average adult in Nigeria. There is no sympathy in the average adult in Nigeria.
So you're
There
saying
is
our
no
parents
love.
never taught us empathy?
So they taught us inwardly. They didn't teach us application of it.
Ah, okay.
They taught us love yourself. They didn't teach me to love you. Do you understand? So these are the things that I look out for in schools.
In schools. Okay.
I want the child to be able to be an adult that looks back as the next adult and feels the pain of that adult.
Absolutely.
I want the child to be an adult who looks at you and is able to tell you, oh, your makeup is beautiful, without having a second thought of, okay, I want to have something with her. No, express yourself. Love people because you are born out of love.
So are you seeing that in your child?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So I give you a story. I think it was last Sunday, we attended our FC, and then a little child was, amongst us, a child of about 6-7 months, and my kid was all over this child, cleaning the child's mess, looking after the child while we were doing our thing, at FC. FC is Friendship Center,
Okay.
from where I worship. And then when we concluded,
Okay, so for our viewers who don't know what FCA means, I'm sure she means that's
Yes.
the small
the small group
after church.
mhm.
Okay, go
Most
ahead.
churches call it home cells
Or fellowship.
So, yes. So when we rounded up, somebody made a comment and said, this child is so fond of children. He loves children. I said, yes. Where he's coming from, that is what is pushed into him. And then they said, what do you mean where he's coming? I say his school. So what they do is, most times they pick the bigger kids into the smaller classes
Okay.
to go take care of them, to teach them. Even as, small as a nursery class, they take a nursery class into, say, a playgroup or a preschool and get them to begin to, These are the kind of things I don't want my child to be a star in mathematics. I don't want the child to be a star in literacy. No, it has to be all inclusive.
Oh.
So I was watching your earlier segment where you made mention of Abuja students, you know, not doing so well compared to the kind of fee we paid out here. You're looking at the ABCs of learning. You're looking at the conventional learning. We've gone past that stage. I attended an educators roundtable some time ago, and the resource person told us something. He said, look, most schools, what we do is having a 16th century environment, 16th century teachers in a 19th century environment, teaching a 21st century child. How does it work? How?
And this was, they're not even the Gen Zs anymore, they're the AIs now.
They're the AIs. How does it work? So the teacher is a 16th century mindset carrier. The environment is a 19th century kind of environment where you used to, you used to go to school with slate, slate, the small rectangular board that is black. That's what you went to school with. And then you want to use that pattern on a 21st century child.
But are you accusing the teachers that they are not at least upgrading themselves?
Most of the schools, we don't upgrade. We don't. And then a parent comes to talk about value. That's why I said you identify your value from home.
Yeah.
If you're able to identify that value from home, then you know what schools you want to source.
All right.
When fee increment comes, you won't blink an eye about it.
All right. All right, now let's come to you, Theophilus. I'd like you to respond or react to the fact that I hear a lot of people say that the reason why most people, especially in Abuja, the reason why most parents would prefer to go to a more expensive school than a lesser one is because, I'm going to bring the same question to you, but I will start with you, is because peer pressure, because of people around them, because they just want, when they would be with their friends, they just want to get asked the question, what school do your children attend? You just want to be among those people that, oh, my child attends this XYZ school that is so expensive. Is that true?
Yeah, practically, I think that is true.
Is that what you do?
No, I actually don't do that. I think this is the truth. There's a lot, I've heard a lot of people say things about the fakeness of the life in Abuja. So a lot of people want to be in this class. Go with the flow. Yes, go with the flow and all of that. The schools my kids have always attended, I've never been, this is the happening school or this is the reigning school. Like I said, my wife is an educator. And being an educator, one of the things we've always tried to do is that my wife teaches in the school my kids attend.
Okay.
So she wouldn't just go to any school to teach for the sake of just teaching. And because she has to take care of the kids while I'm out in the field working, I need to ensure that they are able to return home together and my children are under some sort of care. So for me, I didn't choose a school based on the flow, like you rightly said. I didn't choose school based on the flow. I chose school with in mind that I had a children that needed to be carefully taken care of. Number two, I also chose the school particularly because I'm a very religious person. Let me use the word religious person. And I want my children to grow in an environment that they are not just taught the maths, the English, but they have all of this teaching with the basis of God's fear in their hearts.
Okay.
So it's the reason I had to go to, in quote, a Christian school, not just a regular school. I could have decided that, okay, let me go to the big schools, as it were. But I chose, like she said, value. These are the things I actually look out for a school for my children to. So beyond all of the razzmatazz of you are doing this program, you're doing these courses, you are doing all of this, the underlying bedrock is that they are not doing these things outside of the fear of God. So the decay we have in our society today is not that some of these kids involved in all of these menace are not very intelligent people. They are. The Yahoo boys are intelligent people, but they lost something very key. Nobody
True.
has fear, nobody has honor, nobody has respect.
Value.
That value is completely missing. So, like she said, the value must come first and foremost from you as a parent. What are you looking for?
Okay.
Beyond the increment in school fees and all of that, what are you looking for? Because some of these big schools, yes, they have all of these programs, all of these good
The glitz and the glamour.
glitz and the glam, but then you look back at your children after some years and you wish you never made such mistakes.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I don't want to get into that. Not at all.
Most definitely. All right, even as we begin to round up, our time is fast spent, but we'll manage our time now. Going forward, for parents who are watching us right now, what is your sustainable plan going forward?
Okay, I said something to my wife a few days ago. I said, we need growth. We need to grow. Grow up as parents, in the sense that I'm not saying grow in age, but grow your finances.
Okay.
The truth is that these are the realities on ground. Our government talking about increasing salaries. Even if they increase the salaries of a civil servant, those of us in the private sector are we going to get a salary increase? So at the very first increment that happened, I did have a meeting with my staff and I said, I understand the current realities on ground. I desire to increase your salaries. However, you can see that this is our business. We've not had increase in quotes, but whatever measure we're going to put in place, not using your word of palliative, but we will give that support.
Okay.
So one of the first things we did as a company was to give them some sort of incentives. Okay, we looked at what they had done in the last 6 months and said, okay, this is the value you've given to us as a company. Take this. So everybody needs to grow. And one of the things we had to give them, we had to set up KPIs for them, key performance indicators. If you're able to achieve this in your work in this quarter, we will give you this extra so as to support you.
All right.
Okay, and all of that. So they need to grow their finances, go out of your regular means of income, but legit. Do not get involved in anything dubious.
I like that part, legit. All right, let's come to you and get your last word, Peggy. First, 2 questions, and I'd like you to quickly unbundle them in one breath, 1 minute. Now, with regards to that saying that when children gather together and then they start speaking the British accent and all of that, the first question that most parents want to ask you is, what school do your child attend? So do you actually believe in that school of thought that it actually comes from that fake life? Do you agree to it? And then secondly, going forward, what's your advice to other parents and how they can sustain this? Because I hear Mrs. O, I hear Ms. Amanda say, be ready for anything can happen anytime soon. So parents should be ready for worse days ahead, or maybe better days ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with advising parents
Okay.
on what to look out, going forward. I think you should actually grow your finances, grow whatever it is you're doing, leverage on almost everything around you. Now, how do you do this? Practical way. I'm into fashion. I am not, just a scenario. So I make clothes, right? All this while, all I do is just make clothes. So you walk into my fashion studio, you pick up something. I don't see you in the next, say, a month or 2 months until you walk back in to pick up yet another thing. Now, what you may want to do is to leverage on this skill you have. By doing what? You could open up a laundry aspect. You're into fashion, yes. Open up a laundry business alongside of it. So you walk into the store, you've made a dress for yourself. I'm not supposed to see you in the next 1 month, 2 months, but I
can wash your clothes for you.
Look, I can wash your clothes for you. So
okay.
you're going to come back. I'm looking for how to get the next money from you, even though I've gotten the one for the dress.
Okay.
Do you understand? Okay. So I'm a chef. I have a coffee shop somewhere. I tutor as well.
That's your own multiple streams of income.
So I tutor. I do all sorts. I put in food ingredients that are moving right from my packaging into your saucepan. So I take that burden out of you. Spend just 5 minutes in your kitchen and rustle those things up. So these are the ways we should begin to build up more streams of incomes around that business you are doing. Just look
Or the
deep
job
down.
you're
Yes, or the job
working.
you are doing. Look deep down. Get a quiet time. Let the Holy Spirit open your eyes to that which you can do, and you will be able to do it to meet up with these challenges. On the British
Fake life,
accent, I don't
British.
believe in it.
Okay.
I don't believe in falsehood. So that is just the answer to that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having this conversation. Like, we could actually just go on and on and on, but time is never our friend, especially when we're discussing serious matters that concerns our very own country, Nigeria. Theophilus Onajeta, co-founder and chair and chief operating officer, Busy Rooms. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Peggy Ulu, tutor and chef. She's actually she's actually the CEO of Fashion Plus Culinary Art, and then head chef and also a tutor. Like, plenty things. That's
Plenty
things.
things.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, viewers, I'm sure you have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. I will see you next time. Keep watching The Conversation, because you never know who my next guest will be and what I will be discussing of next. And like they have already advised, look for other streams of income so that we don't keep complaining. And President Tinubu have already said, don't suffocate us, let us breathe. Please, you too, breathe before they will allow you to breathe. I will see you next time. My name is Annabelle Oji. Good morning and have a wonderful day.